Welcome back to P3. The recent discovery of HIV-resistant sex trade workers in Kenya has helped draw attention to something called natural killer cells in our bodies. Working in tandem with the University of Winnipeg, Dr. Ofer Mandelboim, a professor of immunology at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, is working to find out just how this HIV resistance occurs and how it can be repeated on a global scale. Even though he's based in Jerusalem, Dr. Mandelboim is working in tandem with the University of Winnipeg on this project through a unique partnership called IMRIC, the Institute for Medical Research Israel, Canada. Professor, you are doing some really interesting things with what I understand is natural killer cells.
Right.
Explain what that is and how its application can be helped in both treating cancer and AIDS.
So we have special cell types in our blood, which are called natural killer cells, and that's exactly what they are. They are supposed to kill tumor cells and viruses. And we are studying how they do that. Like, what are the mechanisms by which they are recognizing these hazardous cells, tumor cells and virus-infected cells, and what are the mechanisms developed by the tumor cells, by tumors and by viruses to avoid these NK cells.
Right. And if you can then understand how the tumor is defeating these killer cells, then maybe you could help the killer cells learn to fight off these viruses.
And for example, in HIV, we know that the virus developed a mechanism specifically to avoid NK cell attacks. So it downregulates some of the molecules which are important in the NK cell recognition to avoid.
So you know the process. Then you're just working with how now could I override what's going on to help these natural killer cells attack. Tell me about your story, because I read a little bit about these prostitutes, this group of prostitutes in Kenya, I think, that have what seems like a natural immunity to AIDS. Explain this.
So actually, it wasn't initiated by me. It was initiated by the group in Winnipeg, headed by Frank Plummer.
Wow. Okay.
And they discovered that a group of prostitutes in Kenya, which are supposed to be infected with HIV or with AIDS because they are having sex with infected
AIDS men.
Right. And despite of this fact, they are not infected, and we don't understand it. I mean, this was one of the major discoveries that Frank Plummer may have made, and we still don't know why they don't progress into AIDS. And so for example, we now send one of our students to Kenya to work with the Frank Plummer group and to analyze the NK phenotype in these women. So we have three groups of women. Those who are infected, those who are infected with the virus but do not progress towards HIV.
So they have it, but it's dormant. It's not active.
And this is maybe the most interesting one, which we know was supposed to get infected, but they are not infected. So we are now studying the function of NK cells in these three groups, trying to maybe understand why these prostitutes are not infected, and from that maybe to develop later maybe some kind to help to.
Right, I mean, because if you could discover with this group what it is about their own blood cells, their natural killer cells, if you will, that's activating in a certain way, you could maybe reproduce that en masse. That's the idea.
That's the idea.
So, and that's going on right now in a partnership with Canada.
Yeah. So right now I have this student. His name is Hormas Gadieli. He's actually from Germany. So now he is in Kenya for about 2 months with the Canadian group from Winnipeg. And then in May or so, I'm going to send another 2 students for Kenya again to study with the Canadian group.
That's incredible. Now, obviously, its application in understanding these natural killer cells move beyond just AIDS, because these natural killer cells will not just work on something like AIDS, but it could be cancer too.
Right. So these are part of what we call the innate immunity system. So this system is built to attack to immediately attack almost any enemy you got. So it can either be cancer or viruses or maybe even bacteria. So we really try to understand how come one cell type can attack so many different enemies or pathogens. And so we are trying to understand the basic killing mechanism of these cells, and then from that, so how do they kill tumor cells? How do they kill viruses? And from then maybe to develop mechanisms to enhance their killing ability, or to find out why tumor cells or viruses are avoiding that.
I mean, the applications are almost endless, because do you ever see a possibility that you could understand these natural killer cells in such a way that you could program them or help them almost defeat any pathogen in its way, in a sense, a superhuman that's impenetrable by any virus. Is that a possibility?
So actually, that's one of the. I'm not sure if we go that far, but one of the projects we're having is to try and make this kind of super killer NK cells. So to introduce into this killer cells many different type of killer receptors or killer proteins that will help these NK cells to better kill tumor, viruses, and bacteria.
Is there an ethical issue that's going on, though, in one sense, that you are, in one sense, disrupting the natural mechanisms that the body has, that cells have to maybe defeated? Are you producing something that may bite us in the hand later on?
I don't think so. So I don't think there are any ethical issues here with that regard. We also know that NK cells, so the same NK cells that are involved in killing of tumor cells and viruses, this is quite amazing, are also involved in mating a proper pregnancy in humans, right? So, so these killer cells during pregnancy are coming to the point of contact between mom and baby and support fetal growth. So the killer cells that are in the blood kill tumors and viruses during pregnancy actually help at the fetal growth.
Wow,
and
this is done incredible.
Right, they are.
So they're both the fierce and nurturing. They help pregnancy.
Right.
It's the perfect husband.
It is perfect husband.
You know, it's been great talking with you. Thanks so much for all your research. Absolutely fascinating.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. To think that his research could one day possibly provide a cure for AIDS is absolutely incredible. Want to send a comment or an idea to P3? We'll tell you how next.